For more than 4,000 years, it has stared endlessly toward the horizon, silent, unblinking, ancient. The Great Sphinx of Giza, carved from living limestone, has watched civilizations rise and fall, empires vanish beneath the desert, and time itself slip away like sand through an hourglass. Yet even after centuries of study, the Sphinx refuses to give up its greatest secret, what lies beneath. For generations, explorers, archaeologists, and dreamers have searched for that answer. Ancient texts spoke of chambers of wisdom, secret halls of records left by civilizations long forgotten. But for every discovery made above the sands, new mysteries seem to awaken below them. It's as if the Sphinx has been guarding something far older than Egypt itself, something the modern world may not be ready to face. And at the heart of this mystery stands one man, Dr. Zahi Hawass. For decades, he has been both Egypt's proudest protector and its most controversial figure. Dressed always in his trademark fedora, Hawass has become a living symbol of Egyptian archaeology, passionate, charismatic, and fiercely defensive of his nation's past. To his supporters, he's a hero who restored Egypt's treasures. To his critics, he's a gatekeeper who decides what truths the world is allowed to see. But recently, Hawass has broken his silence. In an emotional confession that has stunned the archaeological world, the man once known for denying every rumor about hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx finally admitted, there is something down there. To understand the weight of this confession, we have to go back to the beginning, to the sands of Giza, where myth and science collide. The Sphinx, nearly 240 feet long and 66 feet high, stands as both sculpture and enigma. Some historians say it was built around 2500 BC during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre. Others whisper it may be far older, carved from the bedrock of a forgotten age. The erosion patterns on its body, smoothed by centuries of rain, not wind, have led some geologists to argue that the Sphinx predates the known dynastic period by thousands of years. If that is true, then everything we think we know about Egypt's origins, about civilization itself, may need to be rewritten. Through the ages, legends claimed the Sphinx guarded a hidden archive, the fabled Hall of Records. Said to contain scrolls of lost knowledge from Atlantis or an ancient pre-dynastic culture, this hall supposedly lay beneath the Sphinx's paws, sealed in darkness until humanity was ready to remember. Of course, to most scholars, these stories were myth. But in the 20th century, myth began to merge with technology. In 1991, a Japanese research team conducted a radar survey of the Giza Plateau. Using ground-penetrating instruments, they mapped the subsurface terrain. What they found was startling: distinct rectangular cavities and symmetrical anomalies beneath and around the Sphinx. Their report was cautious but clear: the data indicated possible man-made chambers where none should exist. The discovery sent ripples through the academic world. But when Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, led by Zahi Hawass, reviewed the findings, official statements quickly downplayed the results. Natural fissures, they said. No chambers. No secrets. Yet whispers grew louder. Independent geologists confirmed the patterns were too regular, too geometric to be natural. Behind closed doors, curiosity turned into quiet defiance. What could possibly lie beneath the guardian of the Giza Plateau, and why was the truth being withheld? Zahi Hawass was born in a small Egyptian village in 1947. He rose from humble beginnings to become the world's most famous Egyptologist, a man who walked among tombs, discovered mummies, and restored pyramids. For him, the past was sacred, and Egypt's heritage had to be protected from exploitation at any cost. But protection, as it turned out, can look a lot like secrecy. In the early 2000s, Hawass was at the height of his power, controlling excavation permits, international research access, and even how foreign scientists presented their findings. Nothing happened in Giza without his approval. To some, that authority made him Egypt's greatest guardian. To others, it made him its ultimate censor. Whenever journalists asked about the rumored chambers beneath the Sphinx, Hawass would smile and wave it away. There is nothing there, he'd insist. The Sphinx is solid rock. And yet, those closest to him say that behind closed doors, his tone was different. He knew there were cavities beneath the statue. He had seen the scans. But he also knew that if something extraordinary were found, something that didn't fit the accepted timeline, the entire foundation of modern Egyptology could tremble. By the mid-2010s, new technology emerged. Ground-penetrating radar was replaced by multi-frequency tomography and AI-assisted subsurface imaging. These tools could detect empty space, humidity, density variations, even the outlines of man-made walls. In 2018, an international consortium quietly conducted another survey, this time using non-invasive scanning authorized under Egypt's new heritage preservation laws. What they discovered reignited the legend. Beneath the Sphinx's front paws lay a narrow cavity, roughly 12 meters long, aligned east to west, too regular to be a geological crack. A second anomaly appeared deeper, possibly connected by a vertical shaft. The data wasn't speculative anymore. It was measurable, consistent, undeniable. Still, the findings were classified. The Egyptian government issued no public statement, and permits for further excavation were under review. Rumors of internal disputes circulated. Some wanted to explore immediately, others feared the political and religious fallout. After all, if something beneath the Sphinx contradicted established history, ancient texts, dynasties, or religious narratives, it could reshape global belief systems. And for men like Zahi Hawass, who spent a lifetime defending Egypt's narrative, that risk was unbearable. Everything changed in 2023. That year, an AI-powered tomography survey conducted by the University of Turin confirmed the previous anomalies with unprecedented accuracy. The data visualization revealed empty spaces beneath the Sphinx matching human-constructed geometry. In other words, the computer had seen what the naked eye could not deny. When confronted with these results, Hawass faced a reckoning. Decades of denial began to collapse under the weight of truth. In an interview recorded in early 2025, Hawass's tone was no longer defensive. He appeared tired, reflective, almost sorrowful. "The sensors don't lie," he said quietly. "There is a chamber beneath. But I no longer know if the world should see what is inside." He paused for a long time before adding, "All my life, I thought I was protecting history. Maybe I was just protecting fear." It was a confession decades in the making, not of guilt, but of humanity. For the man who had devoted his life to guarding Egypt's secrets, admitting one more secret's existence was both liberation and defeat. So what could lie beneath? Some researchers believe it may be an unopened burial chamber from the Old Kingdom, perhaps a royal cache or a hidden archive built by Khafre's priests. Others suggest it could predate Egypt's dynasties entirely, remnants of a civilization erased from record, its memory surviving only through myth. A few even whisper that the Hall of Records, long dismissed as fantasy, may have some basis in reality. Ancient texts from the Temple of Edfu describe gods who built shrines of wisdom beneath the lion of the horizon. If symbolic language masks literal truth, those shrines may not be metaphors at all. But until excavation is allowed, these possibilities remain trapped beneath the limestone skin of the Sphinx, waiting in silence. Why, then, does the world still wait? Why not dig? The answer lies not in science, but in politics and pride. To unearth something that challenges accepted chronology could destabilize Egypt's cultural narrative, even its economy, which relies on the mythology of the ancient world as it is told today. Foreign institutions might claim control, religious groups might contest interpretations, and entire industries built on tourism could fracture. Thus, the Sphinx remains a paradox, a monument both studied and forbidden, touched by technology but untouched by excavation. It is as if humanity itself is standing before the threshold of revelation, afraid to open the door. In his later years, Zahi Hawass has become more reflective. The firebrand archaeologist who once shouted at reporters now speaks with the calm of a man who has seen too much. "I look at the Sphinx," he said recently, "and I see myself. Half revealed, half hidden." His words carry the weight of both confession and redemption. For decades, he stood between the world and Egypt's secrets, believing he was preserving dignity. Yet in doing so, he also preserved mystery, perhaps the very essence that keeps the Sphinx alive in the human imagination. Because maybe the Sphinx's greatest power is not what it hides, but what it makes us seek. As night falls over Giza, the desert cools, and shadows stretch across the ancient stones. Tourists depart, leaving the Sphinx alone once more under the stars. It gazes eternally toward the east, waiting for a dawn it has seen more than 1,000,000 times. Beneath its paws, time holds its breath. We don't yet know what lies beneath, not for certain. But we do know this: every age of humanity leaves behind secrets. Every civilization buries truths it isn't ready to face. And when the time comes, those truths rise again, forcing us to look deeper, not just into history, but into ourselves. Maybe that's what the Sphinx has been trying to tell us all along. That the real mystery isn't hidden beneath stone, but within the human heart, the fear of knowing, the courage to ask, and the hope that when the sands of time shift once more, we'll finally be ready to see.